Hi guys, my name is Min Tan, and I am a beach balance assistant here at Cal State Long Beach. And today we're going to be presenting Meal Prep 101. I have two demoers demoing how to make this spicy wrap and Southwest panini. I have Darlene and I have Megan. So the main three topics we're going to be covering in this presentation is why prep a meal. So the main three reasons are it's cost effective, so then you get more bang for your buck. It's nutrition dense, that means it's healthier and fresher for you. And third is convenience. So this is like pre-made, you can just heat it up when you're hungry. You don't need to like drive out or like wait in line for your food. All right. So first, we're going to cover the topic of cost effectiveness. So the main idea here is invest now, save later. So what this means is usually when you go on a grocery trip, you spend $25 to $50 on groceries. Now this may seem a lot, but these ingredients for the 25 to $50 groceries, you can make 5 to 10 meals with. So it's it may seem a lot in the beginning, but in the long term, you're going to save money. So I have an example for this. So what we're making today is spicy wrap and Southwest panini. So you can get the same at a fast food place or like you can pick it up and it's going to cost around $6. But if you make it at home, it's actually going to cost $1.75 per meal. So, like I said, it's going to be a lot more cost effective and it's going to be a lot healthier if you prep meals at home because you're the one deciding what to put into your meal. Um, Now we're going to move on to list of affordable grocery stores in the area. So when you buy healthy groceries, they don't need to be expensive. And I believe that's like a misconception that if you buy like fresh food, it's going to be like very expensive, like you're buying at Whole Foods or something. But these are a list of grocery stores that have recent, like decent price for college students. So some of them are Aldi's, Food for Less, Costco, Walmart, Trader Joe's, Amazon Fresh, and Winco. My two favorites are Aldi and Trader Joe's because it's really affordable. And in addition to that, like I feel like they have a good variety of snacks and other fresh products. Now we're going to move on to talking about meal prepping and why it's nutrition dense. Meal prepping is not only cost effective, it allows you to make healthy food choices. So, like I repeated in the previous slide, you choose what to put in your food. So, you can choose to put more vegetables, you can choose to put more whole grains. That is up to you. On the flip side, you can also put like unhealthy food, but the focus of this presentation and this workshop is to encourage you to put healthy foods into your meals and diets. So this is what a healthy nutrition dense meal looks like. So it's 50% fruit and vegetables, 25% whole grains, and 25% protein. In addition, there's also water, which is important for your diet, and also oils. So with oils, there's a common misconception that it's like all oils are bad for you, but it's not true. Like you actually need oils for your diet to be healthy. So some examples of healthy oils is olive oil, avocado oil, and coconut oil. All right. And now we're going to move on to adjusting your meals based on your diet goal. So, for example, this diet goal is weight loss, and this is what the meal is made of. So, it's made of around 50% vegetables and fruits, around a fourth of whole grains, around a fourth of proteins, and then you're going to have a teaspoon of oils. Now, like when I say a teaspoon of oils, you don't like drink it on the side, but it's usually included in when you're cooking your vegetables or cooking your meats. That's where that oil comes from. And now we're going to look at a meal that's adjusted for weight gain. So for the weight gain meal, you can see on the plate it's 50% grains, about a fourth of vegetables, and about a fourth of lean proteins. With fats, we have 2 tablespoons of fat. And then we also have fresh fruits, water for hydration. So the main difference here is that the whole grains carry more fiber and calories than the fruits and vegetables and carbohydrates does. So this means that you'll have a higher caloric intake with this weight gain plan versus this one. So more calories means more weight gain. All right. And if you were vegan for any of these meals or vegetarian, you can always switch out these meats for soy. All right. So for today's recipe, we are making Southwest panini and spicy wrap. And the ingredients you'll need is we're making 2 separate. So for the panini, you're using bread. For the wraps, you're using tortillas, and for both you're going to be using Colby Jack or a cheese that you desired, avocados, tomatoes, turkeys, and lettuce. So as you can see here, if you compare it to the meal plans beforehand, we have our carbs, we have our fats. Cheese are considered fat. We have our vegetables, and we also have our protein. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you pin Megan or Darlene, they will be showing you the steps of making it.
Hi everyone, thank you Min. I'm Megan, I am the graduate assistant here at Beach Balance. I'm gonna actually start us off and I'm going to be making the panini. So I have all my ingredients set up right here, so I'm gonna just angle my camera for you all to see. And for this sandwich, you can add mustard if you'd like and cilantro, but since I'm not necessarily a fan of those ingredients, I'm not going to be adding them. But if you do add like the Dijon mustard, it will give it more of that spicy flavor if you don't have smoked turkey. I'm gonna go ahead and get started for all of you. I'm gonna start with cutting my avocado. And then I am going to slice it. And then I also have a bowl on the side because you're gonna actually be mashing your avocado in the bowl. So I did get a fork to do that. Whoa.
So what she's doing right now is she's trying to get the pit of the avocado out of the avocado. So ideally, if you if pretend I'm holding avocado, if you like slam the knife hard enough, it should like cut into the pit, and you should be able to like pull it out easily. But sometimes the avocado pit is really in there, so you can always take a spoon or a fork. Yes, it's also scary trying to get the pit out by using the knife method, but
I
yeah.
don't, you guys, eat avocado. I know it's really shocking and I know it's super popular. I'm not the biggest fan of avocados, so this is a learning experience for me as well. This is my first time actually making food with avocado, but we're gonna roll with it because this is still a super delicious sandwich and I highly recommend it. So right now that I finally got my pit out, as you all could see, I'm going to start mashing this avocado down just a little bit to make it easier for when I cut the tomato and add that into the avocado mixture. So you're gonna need one medium-sized avocado, which is what I used. And then you're also gonna need a teaspoon of lime juice as well. If you're not a fan of lime, you don't have to add the lime juice. You can definitely make this however you choose, what your flavor preferences are as well. I also added some extra spices to the mashed avocado mix because my roommate is going to be enjoying this meal prep that I'm making today. So I'm just gonna take this bowl and I'm gonna place it on the side, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting my tomato. Are there anyone else in the chat who don't like avocado, or am I the only one who doesn't like avocado? And then for the tomato as well, you're gonna want to dice it. So I'm just gonna slice it first and then dice it after and add that to the mixture.
All right. So some knife safety tips. As you can see, she's keeping her fingers away from the knife while slicing. Additionally, I'm using this water bottle as an example, but you can also curve your fingers. So that way, when you slice, when you slice, the knife is only going to touch your knuckles and it's not going to touch or cut this end of the finger.
Yeah, like what Min was saying, I took a cooking class in my undergrad for hospitality management. And one thing that we learned is if you're gonna cut, you can hold the knife two ways. You can either have your thumb on this part of the knife right here to keep it more sturdy, or you can tuck your thumb underneath here as well. But like Min was saying, you always want to either curve your fingers like this. You don't want to cut with your finger out just because you don't want to risk the chance of potentially cutting your finger or your fingernail. But I like to cut with my thumb because I feel like it makes it more stable. Yes, so I'm mixing in the tomato and avocado. I do have at least half the tomato left since this recipe makes 2 sandwiches. So I'm just gonna leave that on the cutting board for right now because I'm gonna be done with the cutting board after this. So this is some of the tomato mixed in with the avocado. After that, I am going to take my lime juicer and I am in a separate bowl going to juice half of a lime so that I can get at least a teaspoon of juice. So I'm going to do that right here. And juice half of this lime. Another tip I have for you guys is whenever you're cooking or anything like that, if you clean up on the way, like while you're waiting for your sandwich to cook or anything like that, it makes it a lot easier. At the end, you don't have as much to clean up. So I just added my teaspoon, of lime juice to this mixture. And I'm gonna spice it up just a little bit since I'm not adding the spicy mustard. I'm gonna add other spices to my mixture that I just created right here. And I'm also gonna go ahead and move this cutting board off to the side so that you guys can see a little bit better. Honestly, the mashing of the avocados and the prepping and cutting of the tomatoes is going to be the longest part of this entire meal prep because once this is done, all you have to do is cook the panini sandwich and just add in your cheese and your smoked turkey. So I'm gonna add just the tiniest bit of salt. And you don't have to do this step, I'm just doing it. I'm gonna add some black pepper. I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic powder. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of onion powder as well. And then just give that one more nice little stir. Almost like a guacamole mixed with just tomatoes at this point and minus the onions and garlic. Okay. Now that this is complete, I'm gonna set this off to the side. I have bread and I'm choosing to use sourdough bread. You can get this at Trader Joe's. It's like almost $3 at Trader Joe's. You can use whatever bread you like. If you're gluten-free, please use gluten-free bread, or if there's tons of bread options that you can use, you don't have to use what we're showing here. I'm also gonna go ahead and heat my pan now to medium-high heat and take some olive oil, and I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil on the outside of each bread piece. I'm gonna go ahead and place this bread piece down and prep this one. Next, I'm going to take a slice of Colby Jack cheese. It calls for 2, so I'm going to take 1 slice of Colby Jack cheese and place that on the side of the bread that is not face down with the olive oil. After that, I'm now going to take 2 slices of my smoked turkey breast. Sometimes it breaks apart, that's totally fine. Doesn't need to look perfect as long as it tastes really good. Okay. Then I'm going to take some of the mixture that I just created with the tomatoes, the avocado, lime, and my other seasonings. I'm going to place that in the center of the sandwich. And then I'm going to finish it off with another slice of cheese and 2 more slices of turkey. That's a really big sandwich. Okay, so another tip, whenever you're making any type of like panini style or grilled style sandwiches, it's better to lower the heat and place a lid on top. That way it insulates the heat so that the cheese melts faster, especially when you have a lot of ingredients such as we have right now in our sandwich. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself again and wait for this to cook out. And then I'll show you when I'm gonna flip it, and then we'll show you the final result after.
All right. So just gonna cover what she added into her panini. So we have our fruits and vegetables. We have our avocado. We have our whole grains, which is the whole grains or carbs, which is the sourdough bread. We have our protein. So the protein is the turkey. You can also count the cheese as a type of protein. And we have our healthy fats. So for healthy fats, we also have the olive oil. So this meal is well rounded. So you can also mix and match the meal based on what you like and what your goals are. So for example, instead of like making, if your goal is weight loss, instead of using sourdough, say that you just want to make like a wrap, or like, you know how In and Out they have protein style where instead of the buns it's just lettuce. You can try that out and see if it tastes good. And Yeah.
So the sandwich isn't quite as crispy as I want it on this side before I flip it. But real quickly before I flip the sandwich, and then we'll hit it off to Darlene when the sandwich is complete. Just an easy way to meal prep sandwiches. I'm gonna bring the screen up. So real quick way to meal prep sandwiches like this, since you already have the avocado and the tomato mashed, you can get a separate container or a meal prep container that has separate sections in it. I chose one of these containers just because it's a lot easier. And you can place the rest of your mashed avocado and tomato mix in there. And then what you could do is take 2 slices of cheese, put it in here as well, and separate the turkey, and you can put that all in one container. That way when you need to go make your sandwich, you have everything already laid out for you, and you can just get your 2 pieces of bread. I don't recommend putting the bread in the same container as all those ingredients because it can make it really soggy, and it's just not gonna make the bread the way you want it. So what that would be one of the easiest ways to meal prep this is just putting everything together in one container besides the bread. I'm gonna also go ahead and flip this. Ooh. And that is a really good golden crispy color. I'm gonna place the lid back on, and now I'm gonna lower the heat yet again. And pretty much my sandwich is all complete. It would just be plating if Darlene wants to go ahead and get started on her panini wrap. But thank you guys for watching me make this, or not panini wrap, I'm sorry, her wrap. But thank you guys for watching this.
Hi everyone. So my name is Darlene. I'm one of the Beach Balance assistants. So I'm going to be making the spicy Southwestern wrap. So you guys can go ahead and pin me if you like. I'm just going to give a forewarning since I've unmuted myself. I do live on a fairly not busy street, but it's very popular with skaters. So you might hear some boards, and we also have a dog. So just kind of letting you guys, feel a little bit closer to some of the Beach Balance staff. He's down here right now, just waiting to pick up the scraps if anything falls. So I'm gonna go ahead and just list off the ingredients. So you guys make sure that you have medium avocado. It's gonna be lime juice as well. So get your lime out, get a tomato, tortilla. We're gonna be using that for the wrap. Also shredded cheese. I did get the Colby Jack. So if you guys have it, if you have different preference, I don't know, what's your guys' favorite cheese? Put it down in the chat, let us know. But also we have the roasted turkey, black beans, and then the shredded lettuce. So I've kind of pre-prepped a lot of stuff, and I'll go ahead and show you all my little setup here on the counter. So all of the ingredients. But so just to start off, if you guys have all your stuff assembled now, since they're similar ingredients to the panini, you're just gonna go ahead and in a bowl, I just have a little disposable one, you're gonna put your avocado. So I went ahead and pre-cut, and I'm actually gonna use half of it. So depending on how much you want, you can go ahead and put more, but you're gonna go ahead and put the, let me lower this a little bit, you're gonna see, I'm not the most precise when I come to my meal prep. I just kind of throw it in there sometimes, and then hopefully it looks nice at the end. My biggest thing is that it tastes good. So I try to go for that. So I'm going to put half of it in here, and then we're going to go ahead and add the lime juice as well. So just going to squeeze. So it does say 1 teaspoon, but if you do enjoy a little bit more, you can go ahead and add a bit more. That flavor will just pop out more in your wrap. And then we put for 1 tomato. I at my grocery store could only find these Campri ones, so I'm gonna go ahead and put 2. As I said, I'm not the biggest tomato fan, so it's okay. Am I the only one, or are there certain food things that you guys aren't the biggest fans of? Go ahead and pop them in the chat and let us know.
All right. So she's using half an avocado. So a cool tip on how to save the other half of the avocado without it turning brown is brushing like a little bit of lime or lemon juice on the other end of the avocado and like wrapping it up. So that way it delays it from turning brown for a few days.
I've done that trick myself because I'm a big fan of avocado toast in the morning if I want like a little snack. So I'll use half of it, normally on sourdough or something, and add like my little seasonings with some like chia. If I want to add more and have it be a little heartier, I might have an egg and put it on top. But let me just finish up with these. I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in here into the bowl. As I said, tomatoes not my favorite, so not much practice cutting them. Family gatherings have helped with that, but normally you can see they put me on lettuce duty instead of tomato. So I'm gonna be adding this. The good thing is my roommate likes tomatoes, so that'll work out. There. And so we don't have it listed there specifically. You can go ahead and add some seasoning if you like, kind of how Megan went ahead and put some in. I really enjoy like garlic. So if I have garlic, I might put fresh in there. It is a lot of tomato, but I'm not gonna eat it, so that's okay. She enjoys it. But I'm gonna add some garlic powder. So Trader Joe's, as you all can see, a friend of mine. I really enjoy going there for my groceries. I'm gonna add some of that. I'm gonna actually add a little black pepper as well. And I'm not a big salt person myself, but I always just add like a pinch of it in there just for a little taste. I'm gonna put this in before I add. Normally I grab a little bit too much, but I just put it back in there. And then we're just gonna add the 1/2 cup of the black beans. So personally myself, sometimes I don't like, since this is for meal prep, I don't like overstuffing my wraps because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not like Chipotle professional with wrapping. So stuff might come out the end. So I try to do a little bit less and then see if I can close it all up in there. So we're gonna go ahead and I'll move this to the side and then just get one of the tortillas. So I got whole wheat tortillas. Prefer it. Your preference, you guys can go ahead and get just the regular like white. If you want to get, like do like mini wraps, I guess in a sense, and do the little corn tortillas. So I went ahead and got that. So I'm gonna go ahead and be putting half of this on one side. I do like avocado, so we're gonna be putting that in there. And I cut the oven roasted turkey into strips just for myself. It seemed easier to do it that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that much. We'll see right now with the wrapping if I did too much. So I'm gonna grab a few strips of this and put it in there. And then we're gonna go ahead. I have a 1/3 cup of lettuce. So really, depending on your like dietary preferences, if you like more lettuce, you can go ahead and put more and put less of the black beans or less of the turkey. I'm gonna go ahead and now add, we have 1/3 cup. I'm not gonna put the whole thing onto here. I might like divide this into two. This one will be for my roommate and the other one will be for myself. There's something peaceful about sprinkling cheese onto tortilla wrap. So this is the moment of truth. We're gonna go ahead and see me attempt fold this in. So we have it here to fold in the sides and then hopefully beautifully wrap this guy. You'll see a little lettuce wanting to come out. And voila, all of the ingredients sneakily hiding inside. But that is our wrap. So, you know, you can go ahead and cut it in half if you're not trying to finish it all, and kind of how Megan said, store the rest in a container. But yeah, so if you guys do have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Min.
All right. So follow up with the tortilla. So if you're having trouble rolling it and like fitting all the ingredients in, what you can do is you can put the tortilla on a skillet, warm it up for a bit, and then that way it should roll easier. In addition, if your tortilla is like coming apart, put like the flap on the bottom and put it back into the skillet, and that way it should like adhere the wrap together. All right. So now that we saw the demo for both the tortilla wrap and the panini, I would just like to give you guys a few helpful resources. So for tracking nutrients, you can always use MyFitnessPal, Food Educate, FitNow, or Food Labels. And for recipe ideas, you can use Tasty, Bon Appetit, Yumly, and Kitchen Story recipes. I personally use Tasty and MyFitnessPal. With MyFitnessPal, I found that it's really intuitive and it really helps you get to your like weight goal, because it bothers you with a bunch of notifications to like, oh, track your meal. Did you have dinner yet? Track your meal. And it counts all the calories that you take in a day, and it also compares it to how much carbohydrates you're getting, how much protein you're getting, how much sodium you're getting, stuff like that. With Tasty, it gives you, I believe it's by BuzzFeed, like the same company, but it gives you like the meals in a easy format to follow, and the meals that they list are pretty easy to make too. So just a couple resources to keep in mind. All right. So some extra tips for you guys. So use all your cooking resources at once. This way it's easier for you to like clean up, because you only have to clean up once. But if the on the other side, like if you know you're not a big eater, try just using half and then saving the other half for something else. And large batches of everything. So like once again with like meal prepping, you do it once, you don't worry about it for the rest of the week. So this is where the large batches come in. And then plan before you buy. So plan before you buy, make a list of ingredients that you have at home and have compare it to the list of the recipe. And then like make a list of things you need before going to the store and buying it. All right, so now we're going to talk about the vegan diet. So, vegan diet is basically a plant-based diet with no animal products, and it could have many benefits if done correctly, if you're aware of all the potential food deficiencies. So, the pros of the vegan diet is it's environmentally sustainable. With this, you're having a less of a carbon footprint, because when you eat meat, that meat like uses a lot of water. You have to feed the cows. Um, you have to grow the grains for the cows to eat. So that's where the environmental sustainability comes in. And also promotes whole eating whole foods such as vegetables, legumes, nuts, and whole grains. And it may reduce risk of chronic disease. So that's the pros, but there's also a flip side with the cons. So with the cons, you're not getting the nutrients of like what you would usually eat or usually get if you eat meat. So you may need to take new nutritional supplements such as calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin B12. And it's kind of difficult to maintain the diet. So say that COVID is over, we're going out with friends. It's kind of harder to be vegan because most of the restaurant meals are wherever your friend takes you, it's mostly there's some type of meat inside of it. Does Cecilia or Megan want to add on to the pros and cons of the vegan diet?
Um, just some, well, like Min, like you were talking about, the pros, like it is definitely more sustainable. But with the cons, what I don't think that some people who are considering doing a vegan diet really understand is that you are going to be a lot more deficient in those vitamins. And that can lead to further problems, especially vitamin D and calcium. If you're lacking in those two vitamins, it actually has an effect on your overall bone health. So it actually, those are two of the most important nutrients that help maintain bone growth and bone health. So that's just something to take into consideration as well. Like if you're an athlete who's actively participating in and you are choosing to do a vegan diet, you definitely want to talk to someone about supplementation and foods to help prevent you if you're going to get injured. If you are in a contact sport, if you're going to get injured, you want to prevent yourself from getting bone injuries, especially. But it's definitely a diet that is not impossible to do. But if you do want to consider starting a vegan diet, you definitely do want to talk to a professional or a dietitian, someone who can aid you in the process and can give you the best advice and guidance on how to maintain the diet to make sure you're not lacking in specific nutrients or macronutrients.
All right, next we're going to move on to frequently asked questions. So, one frequently asked questions is, won't my meal prep taste bad after a couple days? So, the quality might go down a bit, but the nutrition should be there. So, we recommend you either putting it in the fridge or freezer after you cook it, and it should be good to still consume within 3 to 5 days. So now into the topic of heating it back up. Some people have the misconception that is microwaving food bad? Like they think it's radiation or whatever. But research says that there's nothing wrong with microwaving a meal. The nutrition quality is still there. If you're worried about it going dry, add a little bit water before warming it up. You can also heat it, like if you're doing something like stir fried, you can always like heat it up in a skillet again, or even the oven if you're against using the microwave. So there's ways around that. All right. So once again, thank you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next event.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.